So, good day, sir. I'm Ilardo Jonard from Section B, which I have tasked to report the applicable legal parameters from the report of Group 4. So, I am the second reporter. So, I have to report the applicable legal parameters. So, the pertinent provisions of the Public Assembly Act of 1985, Batas Pambansang bilang 880, the Labor Code of the Philippines, as amended, and other applicable laws shall be observed during rallies, strikes, demonstrations, or other public assemblies. Law enforcement agents shall at all times. So this talks the Batas Pambansa bilang 880. So this focuses on the rallies, strikes, demonstrations, and other public assemblies. So any public assemblies, for example, meetings in open forums, rallies. So, exercise maximum tolerance. So, number 1, exercise maximum tolerance. So, in case of unlawful aggression, so in exercise maximum tolerance is, this focuses on not to be crowded in the surroundings, especially the rallies. So you have to escort the people or in a crowd control. So in case of unlawful aggression, only reasonable force may be employed to prevent or repel it. The employment of tear gas and water cannons shall be made under the control and supervision of ground commander. So the employment of tear gas and other cannons, so it is a liable of the ground commander. It depends the control of the and supervision of a ground commander. And the no arrest of any leader, organizer, or participant shall be made during the public assembly, unless he or she violates any pertinently or evidence warrants. So, we unable to organize a leader, organizer. So they are not involved to arrest or not tasked to arrest in a public assembly, and unless he or she violates any pertinent law. So you are not going to arrest unless he or she violates the pertinent law of an evidence warrants. So you have to arrest if he or she violates o yung paglabag ng batas and as an evident warrants. So in prohibited labor activities, no personnel of the PNP shall so bring in, introduce, or escort in any manner. So hindi ka pwede mag-escort o bring in, wala kang dinadapigan, favor. Dapat you are fair. So patas lang. Individual who seeks to replace strikes in entering or leaving the premises or strike area. So it is the obligation of the PNP or the Philippine National Police of our place work in replacement of the strikers. So it is prohibited in the replacement of the strikers because that's your work of the PNP. You are not tasked to replace strikers because it is your obligation. Rallies and demonstrations. So the policies, number 1, the PNP adheres to the code of conduct for the law enforcement officials adopted by the General Assembly of the United Nations, which requires law enforcement officials to respect and protect human dignity, maintain and uphold the human rights of the persons, and limit the use of force to situations where it is strictly necessary and to the extent required for the performance of their duties. So, you have the code of conduct, which is you are under disciplinary method. You are not obliged. You are tasked to protect and serve and protect the human dignity, maintain and uphold the human rights. So hindi tayo basta-basta makapag dakip ng tao kasi may batas tayo na human rights, may rights din yung mga tao, and limit the use of force of the situation. So hindi pwede basta-basta natin pino-force yung mga tao kasi may limitation din tayo. It is strictly necessary and to extent required for the performance of the duty. So number 2 is there. So public assemblies held in freedom parks or on private property do not need a permit for the activity. So except in freedom parks or in a private property, they do not need a permit for the activity. So especially when nowadays rallies of elections is in public place or in a freedom parks, so it does not need permit for that activity. So public assembly with permit or one held in a freedom park or private property shall not be dispersed as long as it remains peaceful and no incidents of violence occur. So there is no need to permit for the activity unless it is peaceful activity and no incidents of a violence occurs. So when it is peaceful and no violence, not crowded, so it is good. And number 3 is the PNP shall provide police assistance only when requested by the leaders or organizers for maintenance of the peace and order to ensure the safety of those participating in the public assemblies held in freedom parks or the private. So as what I will say, the crowd control. So they will support the PNP personnel if the leader or the organizer requested the PNP for the maintenance of peace. So only the PNP shall provide the police assistance for the crowd control of this activity, especially the rallies held in freedom parks or in any private property. So number 4 is a public assembly held in a public place must have a permit from the mayor of the city or municipality exercising jurisdiction over the place where it is be held. So when you create or make a rallies or any activities, you have to must have a permit from the mayor of the city or municipality. So especially meetings and any associations that must have permit, it is exercising of the jurisdiction over the place where it is being held. So a public assembly held with or without permit, maybe. So this is the last of my report, sir. Thank you.